Hi everyone, Ian from Digital Arts Box here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make your own paper cutout monogram effect using Procreate. Okay, so let's get stuck in. Let's start a new canvas. You can choose whatever canvas size that you like. And the first thing you're going to need to do is decide what letter you want to add. To add our text, we go up to the Actions section and we click on Add Text. So I'm going to choose an M. And what we want to make sure is that we choose a font that is as big and chunky as possible. So ideally something that we can make bold and something that is going to give us enough space to draw inside of. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Futura, make sure that it's bold, and then I want to try and increase my size as big as possible and say done. Obviously still not big enough, so I'm going to go into my direct select tool and I am going to make it nice and big and also centralized. We want it in the middle of our canvas. So next up, what we can start to do is draw in our shape. So what we're going to want to do is choose a color palette that we're happy to use. So I'm going to stick with this one I've got right here. Obviously you can choose whatever colors you want. And then what we're going to do is add in new layers. Each time we choose a different color, we're going to want to add a new layer. So all that's left to do now is draw. I would suggest using a monoline brush, and let's go ahead and grab I'm going to start off with a light color. So let's grab pink. And then all that we have to do, make sure that we're drawing on our new layer, is jump in and start to draw whatever sort of shapes that you want. Now, the only bit that we're really focusing on is the bit that actually overlaps the letter. So all these bits outside, we're not that concerned about whether they're smooth, but everything inside, we want to try and keep them as smooth as possible. So as soon as I get to there, I'm not really bothered. I'll just join the shape up and fill it in. So I'm going to go ahead and obviously these shapes are just completely random. What I'm trying to do is sort of follow the edge. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. You can see a little bit wonky here, but because it's not on the inside of the letter, I'm not bothered about that at all. Okay, so as I said before, what we want to do now is we want to add another layer, and this layer is going to go underneath that layer that we've just drawn. So let's go ahead and grab another color. I'm going to go slightly darker this time, and now we're just going to sort of semi-follow the shape that we had before, but you can see it is by no means exact, and you can kind of have it where it pops out of certain bits and hides under other bits. So I'm going to have it really coming out here, and then it's going to snake back in there. I'm going to have it coming back out here like that. A little bit down here. Maybe a little bit down here. Okay. Repeat that process. New layer. Stick that layer underneath. Grab a new color. Keep going. Okay, so what I have ended up with is a fairly basic one, just with 4 layers with 4 different colors and shapes on each of those layers. So now what we're going to want to do is create an illusion of depth. So we want to add some shadows into this. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate each one of these layers, and then working with the bottom duplicate, the one that's directly underneath it, we're going to take all the color away from this. So we do that by going up to our adjustments, tapping on hue and saturation, and bringing the saturation down and bringing the brightness right down. Okay, so it doesn't look like we've done an awful lot there, but you can see if I turn off that top layer, sat right behind it is another layer, exactly the same shapes, but black instead of that pink. So I'm going to repeat that process on the other layers. So what we've got at this stage is something that looks a little bit like a mess, but we've got 8 of these layers, 4 with colors and 4 without. And what we're going to do now is we are going to group select the layers without color, and we are just going to move these ever so slightly so you can get a kind of flavor of what it is that we're trying to do, create that illusion of depth. So that looks pretty good to me. Obviously you can move it any way around that you want, but I'm just going to move it slightly down and to the right like that. But obviously that's a bit too aggressive. So what I'm going to do on each one of these layers now is blur that and tone it down a little bit. So we go up to our adjustments again, go to Gaussian blur and just swipe across the screen, and I'm going to change that to around about the 12% mark, something like that. What I'm also going to do while I'm here is just decrease the opacity a little bit, and I'm going to set my blend mode to overlay just to kind of soften that effect. Okay, so repeat that on the other darker layers. Okay, so at this stage, it kind of looks like we've got pieces of paper that have all been cut out and they're stacked on top of one another. We've got these shadows, but we've lost that M in the background. We can't really see it. So what we're going to do is make it look like there's a piece of paper that's on top and all of these layers are cut out and underneath. So what we need to do is go into our layers panel, and right at the top, we're going to add another layer, and this is going to be that piece of paper that's going to be sat on top. So let's go into our colors. Let's go ahead and grab a lighter color. I'm just going to make that a little bit lighter still, and I'm just going to drag that on top like that. So now what we need to do is cut out that M shape so we can see all of those lovely colors in the background. So what we can do now is if we tap and hold on the tick right there, that's going to hide all of our other layers so we get back to just our letter that we want to work with. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into our select tool, and we are going to select the space around the outside of the letter like this. Now what we're going to do, tap and hold on that tick again to make everything come back, and then we're going to go up here and we're going to tell this top layer that we want it to be a mask, like so. Switch off our selection tool, and now we can kind of see it's really starting to come to life. That looks great. Now what I'm going to do, because I'm happy with my mask, I'm going to pinch those two layers together, merge them into one, and I'm going to duplicate this because what we want to do now is add some shadow in to make the top layer look the same as the layers that are underneath it. So I'm going to work on this layer, the bottom layer that we've just duplicated. I'm going to go in and grab a black, and I'm just going to drag that on top like that. Doesn't look like anything's happened, but if we hide that top layer, you can see there's an exact copy of it, but one is black underneath. So what we're going to do on that is go up to Gaussian blur and just increase the blur on that to however high you want it to make it look like that piece of paper is sat on top. So I'm going to put it to around about 22. And then obviously what we can do again is we can decrease that opacity and change the blend mode to overlay if you want to. And then use our direct select tool, and we can just move it around if you want to cast that shadow in a slightly different direction. So there you have it. There is our paper cutout monogram. If you want to, you can add some overlays and effects onto this to make it look like actual paper or whatever material you want, but that's how we create this effect. So have a go yourself. I'd love to see what you make. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it and had some fun. I'd just like to say a quick thanks to Tesco Community Grants and the Bags of Help project for helping making this video possible. I've been Ian from Digital Arts Box, and we'll see you on the next one.